even though it was, quote unquote neutral. 8-point underdogs. I don't think, there wasn't this huge expectation that they would pull this off. Managed to stay in it, right? Managed to keep it semi-competitive. What did you just make of what you saw from Illinois tonight?
Yeah, it's a game they needed to play. I mean, you look at just the youth of this team, and how you schedule is going to determine how quickly you figure out who this team is and what the identity is offensively, defensively. And I thought they did a good job of scheduling this non-conference, and particularly this game this early, to figure out who you can trust, right? Who can we run our offense through? How do we want to, shuffle around our rotations? All that matters. And I thought tonight, I liked their fight, but it was just there was no resistance defensively. And when you have, we touched on it, right? Mark Sears scores 0 points. I think if you asked Illinois before this game, hey, Mark Sears scores 0 points, how do you feel about your chances? Probably pretty good. The issue is that the other 3 guards scored 50 of the 100. And I thought Bama completely flipped the script from Friday night against Purdue. I thought Purdue was more decisive. I thought Purdue was more physical. And then tonight, that was Bama in this game. And when and RC touched on it, like when you allow them to get downhill, to get out in transition, the avalanche is on, man. And it's hard to stop that. I mean, he talked about them getting into the paint. That set up a lot of the inside-out three-point looks for sure, but they were 28 for 41 from 2, right? Almost 70%. And if you look at the shot profile, like that's what Nate Oates wants. He wants shots at the rim, and he wants shots from 3. And nothing in the mid-range. And I thought they eliminated the mid-range tonight. They didn't settle, like RC mentions as well, and that's the result you get. But for the Illini, like it's just another data point for this team to figure out, again, who they can trust and how they're going to move forward. I don't think it was an awful effort, but defensively, like there are definitely things that need to get figured out.
Yeah, RC, I think, he kind of hit on it, like at least about the Sears piece. I mean, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary when you start thinking about the fact that Sears didn't score and they're not fully healthy yet. Like, there's more to come with Bama.
I don't think anybody's surprised with Bama. When they get healthy, it's scary because you don't have to force anything with them. Like, personally, I think as the season wears on, I like to see Mark Sears more involved in a sense, but just a great option not to force him. The Illini issue to me is going to have to be having more guys besides Boswell who can defend the ball, who can contain the dribble. That'll be something that they have to deal with on a perimeter. Who else can step up and guard someone else on the perimeter of the wing? I don't know if you could. He does a really good job. He's always been a really good physical defender. I thought he did a really good job on Sears when he was guarding him as well, fighting through screens, being able to blow some stuff up, and give him some credit. And I'm not saying he single-handedly shut him down by any stretch of the imagination, but talking about the Illini here, I think they're going to have to find someone else to help contain dribble penetration, because now I know it's hard with Bama because they just spread you out. What's great about Bama, why it's fun to watch them play? They don't really run plays. They just teach their guys how to play. So they're cutting, they're driving, they're spacing, they're shooting. It's just, it translates. And it's why I think as long as you see Nick, their staff just spreads all over the country. Everybody wants a part of their staff and a part of their system and to figure out the secret formulas, so to speak. But I think the best thing that they teach, that NATO teaches, is just how to play. Just play. It's not, we start with a zoom max. You just cut hard. You don't get it, you flash up, you get it, ball screen. You catch it, you shoot it, you don't shoot it, you drive, your space. They just know how to play. So it's hard because you're not worried about, a lot of times when you get script, you get a piece of paper, you're looking at the plays they like to run. You playing Bama, it's like, they play 2 threes, they want layups. But they're doing it at a really, a lot of pace, spacing you. I just think the only thing I can say, if I'm nitpicking with them, is that I think they settle too much for 3 sometimes. And I think the wrong guy occasionally will take a 3 just to get himself in the flow of a game. But other than that, man, this team will be there in the end. Nate Oates schedule's as hard as anyone in the country. He ain't ducking nobody. Whoever wants to run, he'll give it to you. That team will be a problem, like I said. I think they just got to continue to play the way they played tonight. One, is because they go through spells when they're not making shots. If they're going to hit 23s, which they will do this year, they've beaten everybody. But when they're struggling, can they find other ways? Can they rely on their defense? We thought they'd be probably better defensively when they signed Clifford Morey than I think. Tonight he was in foul trouble, but I still thought they'd have they'd still be a little bit better than they are defensively right now.
I think
Mike,
one thing I want to add, because this has been brewing for, I think, really since the start of the season. When I watched the Memphis exhibition game, like, a dude that popped was LeBaron Philon. Like, that dude, if we're calling a spade at this point, I think that's Alabama's most complete player. And it's part of the reason why Mark Sears can go scoreless in a game like tonight and they still score 100, because when you have Kylan Boswell guarding Mark Sears, now you have LeBaron Philon that's being guarded by Will Riley or being guarded by Kasparis Yakashonis, and they try to compete defensively. That dude is he's a blur off the bounce. He makes great reads. He can step out and shoot. We saw that against Purdue tonight. Like, he gets downhill so quickly, and the pressure that puts on your defense and what that allows Alabama to do offensively. Like, I truly think, I think the trend is going to continue for Alabama. And that's Mark Sears is going to have his nights for sure. Like, he's going to have 20 plus on occasion, probably more than on occasion. But LeBaron Philon is going to continue to be more of a focal point and continue to command more attention. And that's only going to help Mark Sears, because now you're talking about shuffling, defensive, personnel. Hey, who are we going to guard? Are we going to stick our best player on Mark Sears, or are we going to stick our best player on LeBaron Philon? That's only going to help Mark Sears. So I think the emergence of Philon is going to be great long term as Alabama continues to roll, and that's why it's so scary what they were able to accomplish tonight with Sears. He still commands attention, right? So him being scoreless doesn't mean that he wasn't doing anything, right? He's commanding the attention of Kylan Boswell and the rest of that Illinois defense, and then now the rest of the guys on for the Crimson Tide are benefiting from it.
RC, we saw and we have seen, because I do want to talk a little bit more about Bama here. At least at the NBA level, right? When you saw, the offenses become super centric around the three, everybody started doing that. Everybody started playing. Everybody was trying to be the next version of Golden State, right? Now the three is just so prolific. And it kind of feels like in some ways Alabama is on the front end of that trend as well with the way they play. They don't want to muck it up. They want to score 100 every night. Is that something that you think teams can recreate stylistically, or is that just going to be something that's limited to a select few programs if that's what they want to do?
I mean, you can emulate it if you want. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to have the personnel that Alabama has to be able to do it. To duplicate it would be the issue. But like I said, the biggest thing is that scouting them has to be the biggest headache, because they're not running a ton of plays. They just do a great job at teaching their guys how to play. And obviously he'll draw up stuff. They do have plays. I'm not saying that any stretch of the imagination, but if you're watching them, it's pace, it's cutting hard, it's spacing, it isn't just shooting threes. We emphasize on them shooting threes, but it's how they do it. If they focus on putting pressure on the rim, and sometimes I think they get happy from the 3-point line and continue to attack and get to the basket, I think it opens it up, and then guys will get better shots. The only thing, like I said, I would like to see is some guys, as we get into January, February, definitely into March for them, is the ball's in Mark Spears' hands probably a little bit more than it has been early on. He's player of the year for a reason. We know what he is. We know what he can deliver. But right now, they're still filling each other out. They haven't had their full complement of roster. That team is loaded, is deep when they get healthy. But they're fun to watch and they're a nightmare to scout, because they're just playing. You don't get it. You cut hard, dribble hand up. They're not scripting a play. They're not running pinch post action for this. They're not running 2 down, 3 side. They're just playing basketball. And I think that's why you put talent in that type of system with that type of depth when they're healthy. That's why they're arguably been everybody's number one team in the country.
Well, RC,